Yeah, that's wild because we were just talking about how that we're on. So yeah, welcome again our episode here with
I see what you
Josh
did there.
Wilson. I don't know what you're talking about.
What do you mean?
Hold my cutters, what I mean, and we're enjoying the fat bottom Betty.
They're still fat.
They are, and
Brownie during the break, you're showing us a dance. The fat bottom Betty.
We'll get out there.
Yeah,
don't
get
you
out
worry
there.
about that. For those of you watching on YouTube, stick with it or whatever platform.
You'll never believe what Brownie can do with those hips.
Oh, you have no idea. Like and subscribe, and we subscribe to the Josh Wilson idea that you don't necessarily want deadwood on the field, but you definitely want it.
Yeah,
when you're smoking stogies in a humidor.
Yeah, for sure.
And we talked in a previous episode about your baseball life, which is amazing. 8 years of the big leagues, 9 major league teams, 12 organizations.
And how many years total?
I played 19 seasons of pro ball. Yeah, so one of those in the independent leagues.
That's we're going to get to York, PA.
York,
Pennsylvania. I'm a Central Pennsylvania guy. But we didn't have a professional baseball team then. The York Revolution? What are they?
The York Revolution, the Revs, man.
How did you get onto the Revs, and what year would that have been?
That was 2016.
Okay.
2016. I was working out in the wintertime. Our manager there in York is Mark Mason, another local guy. I was out there at Seaside Sports down in Canonsburg. It was a great facility run by Chris Sidick. And so I was just in the off season looking for a job, and there were no takers in the affiliated front. Chris had played for Mace with the Wild Things. And I don't know if he had invited him out to a workout, but we get together with some of the guys. I think Neil Walker and DK. Donnie would come down every once in a while and work out there. So Mace came to one of the workouts one time down there, and I just got to know him. And he said, we'd love to have you in York. He said, if you can't get a job, we'd love to have you there. That was that. One of the best experiences playing baseball I've ever had.
Why is that, Josh?
It's pure, wasn't it?
It's pure. It's just baseball. It's win or go home there. If you're not performing, if you're not doing the job, they just get rid of you. There's very limited politics in that league. Everybody's basically, making the same amount of money or close to it. There's not much salary there. So guys are just playing to play. Guys are playing there to get better, hopefully get a chance at affiliated ball again. And you have a lot of young guys that they're there because they love to play the game, and that's it. And
what was the age difference for you?
So I was in my 30s. I was probably 33. I mean, I was done. I think I was 36 my last year in 2017. So yeah, that was a couple years before that. So yeah, I was 34, 35.
Yeah. So it's April of 16. You signed with York. Right, April of 2016.
Yes.
And then the next year, you go back and sign a minor league deal with the Texas Rangers in April of 17.
So played that whole year in 2016, went to the playoffs, had a great run there, absolutely loved it, had a great host family there that took really good care of me. My roommate was Micah Owings, another big leaguer.
Wow.
So
Jeez.
Mike and I had an absolutely fantastic setup there. With Tracy and Jim Board, got to give them a shout out. They are absolutely wonderful people. Took wonderful care of us.
Those families are the best, aren't they?
Absolutely the
And what
best.
town were you living in?
So this was in York. It was the town that they lived in was called Spring Garden, I believe was the little town right outside of York Country Club. So I mean, yeah, we were very well set up.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'd say so.
That's great.
I got a couple rounds of golf in there. It was unbelievable. I mean, it was really unbelievable. So that made it all the better. Having a great place to go home to and good people to be around off the field. So 2017, going into 2017 was the same thing. I was working out. I still wanted to play, and haven't had such a good experience in York. I was fully prepared to go back again. I went to spring training with York, which is not very long. It's, you get about 3 or 4 days, and then they say, all right,
Let's roll.
throw it out there.
Love it.
And that's not like you're not going down to Florida.
Nope. This is right there in York.
Yeah.
Get a couple of scrimmages
That's
in
great.
against, Lancaster or, Somerset, New Jersey.
Tremendous.
We head over there, play a little scrimmage game.
Old school.
Old school. Hey, just, go get ready and go play. But so it was still, we hadn't even started the regular season yet. And I get a call from the Rangers. I think it was actually maybe the first guy that had called me was Jason Wood, who's managing in Round Rock. And
Jeez, another.
Woody and I were teammates in Albuquerque with the Marlins, and they had a whole slew of injuries. Elvis Andrews was hurt. Rugnan Odor was hurt. I think Will Middlebrooks was in Round Rock that year. Doug Bernier, some other guys, and they just had this whole rash of injuries. So they were really shorthanded, and I get a phone call. And I said, yeah, I've been working out all winter. I'm in spring training with York. I've been playing. I'm ready to go. Just give me there. So, they needed some help. I went down to Round Rock and had a good run down there. I was there for a little over a month or so probably and, played really well. But then the health started returning for those guys and, and good for them. They gave me a great opportunity to get back into affiliated ball. But, those Texas Rangers organizations I thought were really well run as well, really good people, and they did right by their guys by sending me packing. Despite how well I was playing at the time, and the guys they had already committed to, they kept.
Would be traded to Cleveland.
So I ended up, I got traded to Cleveland, and that was where it all culminated there. Spent the rest of the season in Columbus. Another great group of guys. Played for Chris Tremy there. Ruglis Odor, who's Rugnan Odor's uncle, I believe, and Steve Carsey were on the staff there. All great guys. Had a really good experience in Columbus. That's a fantastic town.
Was this in 17?
17.
So we play against each other?
Probably ran into you there.
Where were you?
I was in Durham.
Okay.
We had the best pitching staff in all of baseball.
There were
You
some
probably
real
played
guys.
against them in 17.
Yeah, we
We got to go back and look at
we
these
went like this.
box scores.
Like,
It is.
Who were the guys? Was
You're
Archer?
doing the weave.
was Archer before that, or was he just probably
was
already in the
before
big leagues
that.
at that
we
time?
had Blake Snell.
Okay, so it was Snell.
Yeah, we had a really good staff.
Yeah.
Chirinos.
I can remember J. Pierre and Sebia talking up Blake Snell, saying he was going to be the real deal.
Really?
Yeah.
He came down. He made the team out of camp, came down. He was like a science project for us. We had to catch him about 4 or 5 times. He went back up. I think he struck out 12 every time.
Well, that Columbus team had to be pretty decent, too.
Columbus team was, a lot of fun. Tyler Naquin, Richie Schaefer. We had some good pitchers there. Eric Kratz was behind the dish there. Yandy Diaz. Boy, Yandy Diaz was that guy. He took the most unbelievable BPs. And I mean, that guy is all biceps. I don't know if you've ever seen Yandy up close.
Biceps.
I mean, he is all biceps. He'd get in the gym after a game, and it's just, it was triceps and biceps. I mean, his arms are absolutely massive. My goodness, he could absolutely hit the snot out of a baseball. And then he'd get in the game, and it was all low liners. And I know, he did something there and started lifting it. And boy, he's had a really good run. But yeah, I mean, Yandy was great. Eric Staymatz was a shortstop, a young guy coming up, and another really good defender, another guy who was a lot like me, could pick it, you could move him around. I had a great. I mean, Columbus is such a good. The ballpark's great.
Great.
The ownership,
Another good hitting ballpark too.
great place to hit.
Man,
it's a short
he just
porch.
nailed the hitting ballparks.
Yeah, I was very fortunate to
Awesome.
not just good ballparks, but good towns too.
Yeah.
I mean, I really loved playing there. The ownership there was great. They treated players really, really well. Took care of the players. I can't say enough good things about Columbus. That's maybe one of the most fun places I've ever played.
A lot of cities, this guy. And you too, Ford. I know you've played in a lot of
Not
cities.
as many as him.
I mean,
as many
Kane
as him.
County, Utica, we mentioned a lot of them. Portland, Jupiter, of course. Wherever the Charlotte
Portland was
club. Is that
different.
Wilson or Zebulon, North Carolina?
Well, Zebulon, yeah.
Okay.
Carolina, the Zebulon, yeah, right outside Raleigh.
Albuquerque, Colorado Springs, mentioned Pawtucket, Reno, Tacoma, Gwinnett, Round Rock, Columbus, Toledo, Indianapolis, of course. What an amazing
Did you have a
run.
favorite?
Yeah, did you have a favorite town?
Probably
Minor leagues and big leagues. Let's
yeah,
go both.
the two places I had the most fun probably throughout my career, both on and off the field, more on the field, but with the teammates too. But Carolina, Raleigh is just boy an unbelievable town for a young 20-ish guy with all the college and the nightlife, and then. We just had unbelievable players. We had Miguel and Dontrell Willis. I mean, our team, we won the championship there in 03, and we lost Miguel Cabrera, Dontrell Willis, and Adrian Gonzalez off of that. Those three guys were all on that team. They all got called up, and Adrian got traded, and we still won the Southern League that year. So we had really, really good players there. Those years in Carolina, probably about as much fun as I've ever had as a player. And then Tampa. I mean, there's no better place to play than St. Pete. I lived on the beach. Just this absolutely phenomenal place. Could walk over, jump in the Gulf. The Boca Ciega Bay was right out the back window. I could see right across over to Tropicana Field from over there. You're on the beach and you're in Florida, and then you go to the ballpark, and there is no lower stress environment to play in the big leagues than Tampa Bay.
Why?
There's just the media presence there. If you're the guy that has a bad day there, you don't have to answer questions after the game. There's nobody coming to hound you, going, hey, what happened there? Why'd you do this? They go and talk to the players that had a good game there. At least for a guy like me, some of the James Shields and the Casimirs and BJ Upton and, those guys, Carlos Pena, those guys had to answer the tough questions. But, when you were somebody like me that was a role player, they talked to you when you did well. And if you had a tough game, you never got any of that real negative energy. The fans there, they love you no matter what. Tampa's it's just an easy place to play. You don't have these big crowds. They're never going to boo you.
Now, that was 07. Were they any good, you guys?
Well, we were young. That team was really young. We didn't win a lot of games.
Yeah.
But you could see the talent coming.
They went to the World Series the following year. They made some moves and got some more guys in there. But, yeah, it was James Shields and Casimir. David Price and Longoria were coming. They weren't there yet in 07, but they were on the way. Carlos Pena had broken out and just had an absolute monster year. BJ, Delman Young.
Some good names.
Some really, really good players. There were some really, really good players.
So how did they do it, Josh? Here's a former big leaguer, former Ray, and a former scout. How do the Tampa Bay Rays continue to put out that talent, do you think? What's this formula?
Well, they draft and develop really well. I don't think there's any mistaking that they get good players. They had gotten a ton of good players through the draft, and they developed them. Exactly how they did it, the inner workings, I don't really know. They definitely, the analytics and those type of the new school things. They definitely have their things that they like. They've got their models or whatever that help them compete and acquire players that maybe other clubs don't want. I have no idea what those are.
What prior podcast we talked about risk. A lot of teams aren't willing to take that risk. I feel like they're willing to take risks that most teams aren't. I feel like smaller markets have to do that. Do you feel that way?
Well, I think it makes sense. I think just like from the player's standpoint, saying it's an easy place to play, I think it probably goes for them too. You're not going to get the backlash you would get in Boston or New York if things go wrong.
All right, easy place to play. Does that mean it's a good place to play?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think for a player, the place where you can perform your best is the place you want to play. There's probably plenty of guys that are, brighter lights people and they would prefer to be in a New York or Boston. But as far as a, low pressure environment, I don't think there's anywhere, especially for a player like me that kind of had the introduction to the big leagues that I did, that, you know, a place like that really helped me, you know, start to feel that I belong there. You know, ultimately everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to win a World Series. But
if you're introduced to the big leagues in that environment, I've really never heard that theory.
Well,
that's a really good one.
I finished my career in Tampa Bay, and they called me in the offseason. They really weren't on my radar, but they gave me an opportunity I hadn't heard yet, and that was to come in. Competing against Ricky Weeks was inevitably not a good thing for me because it's Ricky Weeks, but to be a bat off the bench against left-handers, they wanted to try to pull out my OPS, which was always high in the minor leagues and was always high in the big leagues. When it came to an average major leaguer, they thought they could give me more at bats. So they had this whole grand scheme of plans. So I was like, yeah. And then we signed an incentive-based contract. And then I came into spring training, first week dominated. And then I sucked. I mean, I don't even know if I got a hit the rest of the time. Played good defensively, but they had already marked me as just a bat. So I didn't get to catch a lot. So I didn't get to do my strength. But then they sent me to AAA, and I had an opt-out every month. You know how that goes. And they would call every month and ask me what it would take to stay, whether it was at bats, or it was a couple more dollars. They even got to guarantee call. They did everything they could to keep me there to mentor their players. And I knew where I was at in my career. I didn't know if I wanted to jump ship all the time. We had an RV, and I was really happy just, you know, kind of being a part of this squad and mentoring these guys, and then was going to regroup. But they did a really good job, and they were paying me a small fortune in the minor leagues to show up every day to love on these guys, be extension of the coaching staff. That's what I think, Browning, when you think about small market teams, you can correct me if I'm wrong, they go a little bit above and beyond to make sure, hey, we want you there. This is why.
Yeah.
And what is it going to take for you to feel comfortable that we're not taking advantage of you? And a lot of teams don't do that. One GM loved me, one GM didn't. You know, one GM saw it as I'm just a number, and I wasn't putting up the numbers I could, but I wasn't getting the bats, wouldn't get the opportunity. So as a veteran, I was like, I don't want to be here. But they kept making me feel like, no, you're a part of it. I went through the playoffs, didn't play, got apologized to. And it was just a different realm. And I think because they did that, I'll always speak highly on them because they shot me straight.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I think that may be probably a little more fair, accurate way to characterize it, too. That it's not just, I mean, playing there is great. You know, and there's a lot of factors, but the organization itself probably has to be, you know, really, you know, the more important thing going on there is just the way they treat people. And yeah, I'd have to say the same, that, you know, Joe Madden is probably another big reason why it was so easy to play there, because Joe is a guy that he makes you feel good every single day. Every single day, no matter
positive
who you
reinforcement
are.
all the time.
Positive reinforcement.
You know where you stood too, probably.
You knew where I stood. I mean, it was like when
honest with you.
Honest, absolutely, 100% honest. I mean, from the day I got there, I showed up as a waiver claim and immediately come in the office, and he flat out, he told me right there, hey, I don't know if I'm going to get you in tomorrow or the next day or when it's going to be, but he's like, be prepared. You're going to get in there. You're going to be in the lineup, you know, some point this weekend. We're going to, you know, check the matchups or whatever. And yeah, you were always informed. Joe always, you know, shot you straight. He told you, you know, it's kind of like the Oracle. You know, he told you what you needed to hear, you know, to get the most out of you.
Yeah.
You know, he's that type of guy. He just, you know, he was going to do right by you, to do right by the organization, to get the most out of his players. You know.
Yeah.
Coming your way here, burned by Rocky Patel. Hold my cutter, in case you hadn't noticed. You're joining us in mid-conversation with Josh Wilson. We're enjoying another Stogie here. And, of course, some of our guests receive gift cards to David Allen Clothing in Mount Lebanon. Check out their showroom, their shop on Washington Road. David Allen, what a story. He's an amazing guy. An amazing guy. It's an amazing store.
That shop blew me away.
And you will love that place, Josh, stopping by their showroom. Who gave you the nickname, the Paperboy? Some suggest it was Ken Griffey.
Yeah, so I think I could say confidently,
just a little name drop,
popularized by a guy named Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah.
But I think actually it was Mike Sweeney. So Mike Sweeney is the one who actually came up with it. for reasons you may be able to guess. But
it still looks like he's 13.
Not-
It's
yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Did you play Paperboy when you were a kid?
I did. I used to love that game.
Yeah,
it was
me
an
too.
absolutely fantastic game on the old Nintendo.
Yeah. I
Love
wish they'd bring
Paperboy.
Paperboys back.
But I'm a terrible video game player. Not good. So
But it was a good game to
it's a great game.
Yeah.
I love trying. Trying, but yeah, it was not good. But yeah, so Sweeney, after another waiver claim, when I show up in Seattle and Sweeney, being the character he is, starts chirping, who's this guy in the cage? Looks like the doggone Paperboy, And so yeah, then a legend was born.
So how about
Paperboy, I love
we mentioned some of the managers. We haven't all the big league managers, but you just talked a little bit about Joe Mann. We talked about Jack McKeon in another episode. A little bit of time with Manny Octa. Was it Wakamatsu in Seattle?
Don Wakamatsu, in Seattle. I love playing for Don. Another just super positive guy. That second year in Seattle, so that was 2009 and 10, and we had a good year in 09, won 86 games, and nobody expected that. We were not expected to do very much. It was a very much an overachievement. But we had good players. I mean, there's the same kind of a similar deal with Tampa. There were some good young players, Franklin Gutierrez and Jose Lopez, and then you had the star players and the vets too to complement Adrian Beltre and Junior, obviously Sweeney. So that year, heading into 2010, they made those big splash signings and get Milton Bradley, Cliff Lee. We already had Felix Hernandez, obviously. So, I mean, on paper, Sean Figgins also, they made some deals and thought they, had made the moves to get that team over the hump. And it just didn't work out. And unfortunately, Wack got fired that year, which I don't think was his fault. I think Wack did a great job. But, when you're on those teams and you're expected to win, I mean, that's the nature of the game now. And has always been that way, I suppose. But Wack was phenomenal. Treated me great. Same thing. Always shot me straight. Was a great communicator. And I played pretty well for him for the most part. And really enjoyed my time there. With Seattle. And then Darren Brown took over for him, who was in Tacoma. Brownie came up, who's another all-time great. Love Brownie.
He finished up the season.
So he finished up as the big league manager, and then Eric Wedge came in and was hired in the offseason.
He's the number 2 Brownie in our hearts.
That's right. That's right. All right. So you also played for Bob Melvin, didn't you?
Played for Bo Mel. Yep. And so I got to play on 2 teams where got managers fired. Bo Mel was the other one, which
sure,
is
all your fault.
Yeah.
It's all your fault.
Hey, you just don't want to hang around me too long. I can play bad enough to get you fired.
No. If you play long enough, you're going to see enough guys leave. Yeah.
But I mean, Bo Mel, he's one of the most respected guys in the game. I'd have to say, he's right up there at the very top among the best managers in the game. And he had just won. He'd won a manager of the year.
Yeah.
I think the year before, or maybe it was 2 years before, but. He had already had his credentials, and so, but there was must have been, some sort of falling out. I don't know the details of that, but, Bo Mel was let go, and AJ Hinch came on for his first managerial experience. So I got to play for Bo Mel and AJ there in Arizona at his first season, and.
It's like he's playing craps.
I know.
He keeps hitting the winning hand.
He may be getting these guys fired, but then they keep bringing in better ones.
Yeah.
Come on, let's recycle. Bring somebody else in.
Yeah.
So that's real. I mean, gosh, they might be the 2 best guys in the game right now. I mean, and they were, both the 2009 D-backs managers.
Did you play for Ron Washington at all?
And I played for Wash. I played for Wash in Texas. Another guy that
is there anybody you didn't play for?
he knows. I mean, Leland. I never got to play for Leland.
Did you play for Bud Black too? A little bit.
I played for Buddy Black
and Clint Hurdle
and Clint just in spring training.
Yeah, but it still counts.
Yeah.
Didn't get called up with Colorado, but played for Clint. Ron in Texas.
A little bit of Brad Osmus maybe too.
Brad Osmus in Detroit. Yeah.
All
If
right,
you start going bench coaches too, you get weird.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
well, we'll stick to these managers, Josh, and you've talked a lot about Madden, a little bit about Melvin. Is there one common thread? And these are a lot of successful managers with whom you've played, but is there one thing that stands out about their managerial abilities or their personalities, or both?
There's communication for sure. The
Is that number one?
I think it's yes. That
To me, that's the separator.
That ability to communicate to player, maybe it's to relate to players,
Individuals.
Because it's a lot of personalities.
A lot of personalities. And I think Joe is maybe the best at that. Ron Washington.
Why was he the best in your mind?
Because he came out every day. He never was intrusive. He never came off as disingenuous or fake. He took an active interest, in guys, not just, what happened on the field, but, he made the rounds, and there's just something about his presence. There's something about, it didn't seem forced. It didn't seem, selfish in any way. When you were
probably how you treated everybody.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. I mean, when you were on his club, he'd come up, even if it was just like, say, how you doing? I mean, it felt like he did it because he wanted to, because he knew it was going to help the club, and everything that he did was going to be for the benefit, of the team. And, if you benefit the individual, you benefit the team. I mean, that's just how it's going to be. And Ron was like that too. Ron told you straight up, he didn't mess around. I loved Wash because he was brutally honest. I went to Round Rock and got called up there, to the Rangers. And he told me flat out, he said, you cannot take anything for granted. He said, these guys are going to do the first, the first, they're just waiting for a reason to snatch you up, is what he said. Huh. He said, they are just looking for a reason, so don't give them one. Huh. And he was encouraging in that way, but he shot you straight, but it was, he's just going to be honest and tell you, like, hey man, like, your role on the team, where you stand, it's going to take everything you got to stick. And to his credit, he was going to do everything he can to help you. I mean, you've all seen the videos. I mean, he goes out and he's on the field every day working with his infielders to make them better.
So that's legit.
That's legit. I mean, he is, boy, one of the hardest working guys. I mean, he's out there for early work and spring training every day, down on his knee, hitting those fungos, getting his pad out, getting you through the drills. And he's running through it with everybody. It doesn't matter if it's your first big league spring training or you're Adrian Beltre, Elvis Andrews, Ozzy Albies now, whoever it is, like, it doesn't matter. You are going to be out there working with him, and he's going to get out there to make you better. And, as a player, I mean, you can't help but just respect the heck out of that. That this guy is going to get out there and get on the dirt with you and try to help. And
that's where you gain a lot of respect for guys.
100%. And that's one where all those guys, and Wash takes it to a different level, in that regard, as being hands-on as a manager, but all these guys in their own way were going to communicate. I mean, Bo Mel did the same thing. What you were good at, he let me know. I mean, he'd always let me know that, my defense was going to carry me. He said, I trust you to go out there and catch the ball. I mean, he was going to let you know the things that you did well and the things that he needed you to do. Bud Black was the same way. That's what these guys really do well. They relate to players, they communicate with players, and they do everything they can to get the most out of you.
The best player that you've ever played with or seen,
God,
with a uniform on. You have played with Miguel Cabrera seems to be the obvious choice for my end, but
Beltre.
Beltre was really good. I mean, Griffey, Ichiro.
Oh, geez, oh, man. I'm sorry.
Whoopsies.
Whoops, sorry, forgot.
I mean,
Hall of Famers.
As far as the
like
most
Baker dozen Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
You kidding me?
Yeah, there's been quite a lot. And I mean, even Justin Verlander on the pitching side. I mean, there's guys that are just unreal players. I'd say the most dominant guy I ever saw was Miguel when we were in Double-A, right before he got called up. I've never seen a player just absolutely control a baseball game the way he did. And he was 20 years old. I mean, this guy was 20 years old, and he's hitting 420, whatever, 10 home runs and leading the league in RBIs.
Did you say 420?
he was hitting 429, I think, when he got called up he was June 20th, the day he got called up to the Marlins. And
with power.
With power. I mean, yeah, he was 429. He was leading the league in, doubles, homers, OPS, probably all of it, walks.
He's playing video games.
Just literally playing video games. And I mean, and the Southern League is not a hitter's league. That's the one place,
it's so hot.
It's hot. It's humid. The ball's not carrying. It's big ballparks. And really, I mean, it's, and it's AA. And I mean, that's, really back then. And the game has definitely changed a little in that regard. I mean, the leaps now are bigger at the higher levels, but, it used to be to get out of A ball was a much bigger deal. And so back then, I mean, you had talented guys, you had quality players at AA, and older players, veteran players, and not just veteran players, but good players that probably were going to get some big league experience. It wasn't just because, they needed bodies and the guy got drafted and, you had to put guys there. I mean, you had to really earn your way to AA, and Mickey was 20 years old and just, I mean, making it look like wiffle ball, like you said. I mean, and that's the most dominant performance I've probably ever seen, on a field was those couple months before he got called up. But,
Go to Beltray, because I had him in Texas, and without a doubt, the lead ability he had, I don't know a better way to put it, but he could lead a team, and Jeff Bannister allowed him to lead the team. And I think that made that team a separator. But talk about that presence, because I don't know if Miguel had that, but
no, definitely different personalities, I mean, they both love to have fun. I mean, everybody's seen the antics of Elvis and and Adrian on the field and having their fun. And Miguel loves to have fun, on the baseball field, talking to guys when they come to first base and all that. They're both characters. But yeah, Adrian was probably a little more of that, vocal leader when he had to be. He could take on a little bit more of a serious tone, I would say. But both leaders
scary at times too.
Yeah, very, could be very scary. I mean, he's a monstrous guy.
Yeah.
And he could get a look on his face that you knew you didn't want to mess with.
Yeah, like he may shift you.
Yeah. If Adrian was a little upset about something, certainly guy you didn't want to get on the wrong side, just by looking at him. But there was the thing I'll say about Adrian too. His brand of leadership was also, really by example, and especially on the field. This is probably the toughest human being I've ever seen. So the reason I had gotten called up to Seattle in the first place, because Adrian was still there, was playing third base, and Adrian famously, or maybe not so famously, didn't wear any protective layering.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so he had a little injury, and the man parts got beat up pretty good there, and he was out. He had to go on the DL. And this guy stayed in the game though that day. I mean, he stayed in the game and he's playing.
He had big cojones.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Yeah, and he just played through it. And I mean, you can imagine the pain that he might be in.
Yes, I can.
And just stayed in there. And then, likewise, when I ended up playing with him again in Texas, I mean, it was like he'd get to the second half of the year, and all of a sudden both his quads are like, half torn. And that's when he started turning it on. I mean, it was like if his quads weren't torn, he didn't start hitting until then. And it was just double after double after double. And he'd be playing with these, injuries that would, put guys, out for, a month, most guys, or more. And he would just go out and battle through it. And you're like, this guy's just, he's a different animal on the field. And that's another form of leadership that just, that raises your whole team.
Yeah.
And when you see that guy.
Yeah. What can you
that cares that much. No. What are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, just get out there, man up and go play. And that's something that just really, especially I think for those Texas teams, when they had their run and were, going to World Series, just they took on that mentality, and that is so huge for a club when you just got guys that are just going to be selfless and give everything they have to the last drop, like he would. That's when teams could get really special when you have the type of talent that they did.
No doubt.
Did you play with Jack Wilson?
and I played with Jack three different organizations. So played with Jack. The spring training I spent with the Pirates, and then in Seattle, and then we spent a spring together with Atlanta at the end. So yeah, 3 different stops. Got to play with Jack.
So how would you describe your game and his game defensively? Similar?
Yeah, probably a little similar. Jack was more athletic. Jack had a lot more flash, I think. I don't know if I was the flashiest guy. Jack could do some things athletically that I just couldn't do. And he's probably a little quicker, a little stronger. His body control, just some of the playmaking ability Jack had.
Yeah, he was a playmaker.
Was, I mean, just unreal. He's probably one of the very best. He and Alex Gonzalez, the Marlins Alex Gonzalez, are probably the 2 best playmakers that I ever got to play with or against. Obviously Vizquel's probably just overall the best guy that maybe has ever played the position.
He almost made it look too easy.
He just made it look too easy. But as far as, the arm strength and the quickness and then the body control and the ability to just make plays all over the field and play fast, I mean, boy, Jack was pretty close to being as good as it gets.
Josh, how about, we haven't talked yet about your first big league homer. Describe it. Where was it? Who was it against?
My first big league homer was in Camden Yards.
What a great place to hit your first homer.
Yeah, first one, dead center field.
Who's on the mound for the Orioles?
It was Jeremy Guthrie. It was like a 95, 96 mile an hour heater, and velocity was not my thing. That was when I started to struggle, and I started getting the velo. I could hit the sinker ballers and do okay there, but those guys, Guthrie, he had that good fastball. And
he had the high spin at the time.
Yeah. And I don't know what happened. I caught one right, man, and Corey Patterson was playing center field, and I think he might have got a piece of his glove. He ended up losing his glove over the center field wall.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he almost robbed it.
No. You knocked his glove off.
Knocked his glove off.
Yes.
I mean, it was a rod. I mean, I hit it pretty good. It's probably about as good as I've ever hit one, to be honest.
What was it like, that feeling?
I mean, I was sprinting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I had no clue it was going to leave the yard. I mean, I probably at that point had never hit a home run to center field in my career, period. So I was flying. I was probably halfway around second base when I finally realized that, the ball was out and, slowed it down a little bit. But, I mean, you can't,
So hard to describe.
It's so hard to describe. You can't,
Are there flash points? I'm wondering, third base coach, who was it? Because this is the first guy to greet you.
So our third base coach, so it was when I was with Tampa, so would have been Tom Foley.
Oh, man, gosh.
George Hendrick was our first base coach. So, yeah, Foley's over
Pirates.
there. Yeah, Foley's over there at third.
Silent George Hendrick was your hitting
who
coach?
knows? I might have been around third. I might not even high five him.
Yeah.
I was running so hard.
You got to pick up your speed, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I got in there. We had out there in Baltimore, the bullpens are out there in the outfield. So our bullpen, corralled the ball. They come in after the game. Grant Balfour was one of our bullpen guys, so he presents me with the home run ball. I forget he ended up trying to pull like 2 pranks. The first one I can't remember what the exact one said, but he drew a whole diagram of where it went and was wind blown on it or something.
Oh, that's great.
And I'm laughing. I'm okay, it's funny. So then he writes the next one. And the next one he writes real, real nice handwriting and the date, and he writes Craig Wilson as the name. First home run. And he's like, what? He's like, well, you're not Craig,
That's tremendous.
So those guys, the bullpen guys, had a little fun with me, and that was awesome. I mean, having good teammates like that are gonna, give you a hard time and bust your chops a little. That's another one of those things that makes the game a lot of fun.
When we talked about your first big league hit, there's your first big league home run. Those two obviously stand out. And anything else you recall as really being one of the top moments?
If I have one record in the big leagues, so it might be that I hit a home run in old Yankee Stadium and I gave up a home run in new Yankee Stadium.
That is
so I don't
cool.
know. I don't know if anybody else has done that.
That is cool.
That may be my
really
one claim
cool.
to fame.
Against
another former teammate, Chris Young. Chris Young hit a home run.
Of course, he was against a former teammate.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Well, you pretty much play with everybody, so
Yeah, just about. Yeah, there's like that 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. I'm sure there's
Yeah.
probably I could probably connect to just about anybody.
That's
within,
wild, man.
Within
You
a
hit
certain
one at
degree.
Yankee and you gave up one at the new Yankee.
Yes.
That we will be bringing that up the
Yeah.
next time we play the Yankees. How about you? Do you have a memorable defensive play?
Yeah.
I mean, I know there are a lot of them, but one in particular.
A few.
Or a couple.
So,
You stole a couple hits from me. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I remember that one.
that one.
That one. No,
That
I mean the
one.
one in particular.
Oh, yeah.
It would have been the game winner.
Not that one,
Yeah,
but
the
that
robbed
one.
you.
Yeah, exactly.
Diving stop up the middle behind
Yeah,
the bag.
absolutely.
Line
Threw it between
drive
his
bullet,
legs.
yeah.
there were some of those. I tried. I wasn't Jack. I tried to put a little of that flair on it when I could, but no, I wasn't. I was no Jack Wilson, but I had a couple triple plays.
Right. Involved in
there's-
2 triple plays.
Yeah, 2, and
Come on.
I butchered a third. My
Oh.
chance at my first one, I butchered. I was playing third in Tampa Bay, and former teammate Josh Willingham hits me a chopper.
Who
Runners
also, you broke his bat.
Yeah.
broke his bat.
Yep.
It's
Just
As a
signed.
pitcher.
In the
absolutely blew
man
him
end.
up.
Yep.
Absolutely blew him
Yep.
up with like 87.
Take that.
I
Yes.
mean, just cheese hammer.
So there's a chopper to third.
So chopper to third. I mean, it's literally right on top of the bag. I mean, I'm standing on third base when I catch it. I mean, this is like as tailor-made as it could possibly
and
get.
Willingham is one of the slowest slug players in baseball
Can't
history.
run at all. Shortest arms and legs in the history of the big leagues.
That's for him.
Yeah.
Big time
so
pop, though.
No
Yeah,
speed,
yeah.
big
I'm
power.
kidding.
But yeah, and so make the play, catch it, step on third. Ty Wigginton's playing second, and I just spiked it. I threw it straight in the ground.
Oh.
I mean, this would have been. I mean, we'd have thrown him. It would have been a triple A. He wouldn't even been halfway to first base.
Wow.
I mean, this would have been like the easiest triple play ever, and I just threw it right in the dirt. And
Did you get 2?
nope, didn't even get the second out. Yeah, Wiggy couldn't pick it. Just short hopped him, and yeah, he didn't pick it up. So just a 1-out play. So the other 2 were one in Dodger Stadium. It was Casey Blake hit me a line drive. I think it was a 3-2 count.
You're playing where?
I was playing short. Yeah, 3-2 count with, I forget if it was the bases were loaded or just first and second. But yeah, the runners were moving on the pitch on a 3-2 pitch, and Casey Blake hit a line drive. So it was, yeah, easy triple play. But yeah, the best one, and this is probably the most memorable play, not because of the triple play itself, but because the play before. So it was we're playing the Dodgers in Milwaukee, and I was playing second base this time, and Matt Kemp is on first base, and I can't remember who the hitter was, but it's a hit and run. It's a base hit to right field or center field, and I deked him. Went down, faked the ground ball, and Kemp didn't know where the ball was, and he stopped at second base. So it should have been a first and third, but stopped Kemp with the deke and got him to stay at second. So we ended up having a chance at a triple play, and then next hitter is a backhand up the middle. Backhanded it, gave a little glove flip to Uni Betancourt. He turns the double play, and then Kemp, who's on second base, is trying to round third and score. And Prince Fielder completes the double play, turns, fires a strike to home plate to get the third out. So it was a cool triple play, but more important to me as a defender and as a teammate, it was the play before getting Kemp to stay at second base.
that's
90
cool.
feet matters.
That
That
is
90
cool.
feet, and it really mattered on that play that he should have been on third base, and it should have been a run for him, and instead it turns into a triple play.
That's probably somewhere around his MVP.
Yeah,
season, too.
he was another guy that was really dominant at that time.
Oh, you couldn't get
Yeah.
anything by him.
Could not get anything by him, boy, and he was strong. He could hit the ball out to all parts of the field.
With no movement.
That really easy inside out. Yeah, just looked like he was ready to shoot you the other way, but if you made a mistake, I mean, he was going to do a ton of damage.
I used to watch batting practice, and especially when I was younger, and I used to love watching him take batting practice. He just, it almost like he'd scoop toss balls out to right center. Didn't matter what ballpark,
Yeah,
whether it was
that's so
LA,
easy.
Colorado.
That
yeah.
scoop. I described this. That's like how his swing
It's like,
looked. It was like, yeah, it was like a little flick and a little short uppercut scoop. It was
It's unreal. But then
was unreal.
you think you could get him up, but if he could take that pitch and you had to come at that belly button below, it's game over. Game over.
Josh, when you decided that after the 17 season you're going to move on from baseball, but that had to be tough. all the traveling you did, all the years of playing
19
professional
years.
ball.
Yeah. So
I'm only 22.
I know that.
I mean,
yeah.
jeez.
Yeah. So I mean, it had gotten to the point where I had spent at the time. At the time I was done, I had spent more years in the game, than I had out of the game beforehand. So I was 18 when I signed, and I was
That's all you knew.
19 years in the game, and 18 years of life prior. So, I mean,
hard decision.
Well, I mean, officially I'm not retired.
Oh, wait a
so,
second now. Hold on, the paper boy.
Yeah, so
Paper boy.
I
How
can
about
still
what a
catch
story
it.
this
You
is
know,
going to
hey.
be?
Yeah, read that paper.
Josh Wilson goes to spring training in 2025.
I'm sure I still can't hit and I can't run. Still catch it. If I hit it, I mean, I think I can still catch it. But
Man.
no, I have no desire to get back on the field. But
I always say I didn't retire. I just don't play professionally anymore.
That's
right.
a good way to
If
put
the
it.
old
Yeah.
league
That's right.
calls, I'm in.
Yeah, that's it.
Independent.
Leave
sure,
the
why
door
not?
open.
Yeah, leave
Yeah.
it open. I
With
love
all
it.
doors
yeah,
open.
you never know. You never know. Hey,
Yeah.
like Julio Franco was playing when he was like
That's
50.
true.
Yeah.
Did you ever think about doing that, playing
Oh, man.
beyond the States?
No. I never really did.
Okay.
I never really played winter ball. I never got out to do any of the winter leagues. They were kind of, Dominican and Venezuela were kind of your only options, at that time. And
you weren't the guy they were necessarily looking
not
for.
Yeah,
really.
true.
They were
The
looking
mid-
for
the middle
power. The
infield,
middle
they-
guys,
Right, that's
you
true.
had a hard time. There weren't many of those guys that got jobs down there.
Yeah.
If you didn't pitch, catch, or play outfield, you probably weren't getting
or
invited.
hit bombs.
Or
Yeah,
hit
you were gonna have a
bombs.
tough time in those leagues. So, but yeah, I know I worked out that whole offseason. I mean, I was prepared
Ready.
to go play in 2018. I was looking for a job, and it just didn't come. So, I didn't. I was not ready to hang it up by any means. I wanted to keep playing. It just didn't materialize. That's when I started having to try to figure out what was next. I talked to some of the local scouts, the guys that I knew from the area from growing up, and my dad being at Duquesne, I had good relationships with a heck of a lot of scouts because they were always around to watch his players in the fall and during the season. So I'd cross paths with them, and I knew him from the time I was fairly young, and so I started making phone calls, and by the time I started doing that, the season was already getting underway. So there weren't really opportunities, but started throwing those feelers out there to let people know that I was interested in some other aspects of the game if I wasn't able to play anymore. The fine people it was Fox Sports at the time, were nice enough to let me come in and fill in for Fort when when there was a need on broadcast, and that was in 18.
Year, yeah.
Yep. So
Did you like that? Did you like doing it?
I had a great time doing it. I mean, it was a blast. Yeah, getting to, like I said, getting to go and watch a baseball game.
Yeah.
With Rob King.
With
right?
Kinger,
Yeah.
Kinger,
The great-
and
the great
I
one.
got to do. I think I got to do a couple shows with Stan, which was, boy. He is an absolute legend.
Yeah.
So that was an incredible experience. Just to get to hang around him and do a show with him was a whole lot of fun. But just any opportunity to be around the game is unbeatable, and especially that when you get to show up, watch a ball game, break it down, talk shop with the boys, talk shop with with guys who also love the game. There's nothing better than that. And that's something that it was fun. I mean, that's a heck of a gig if you can get it. Getting to show up to a major league ballpark, in any capacity is truly one of the biggest blessings of my life, and to get to be around it for so many years now has been just a complete joy.
Did you realize how difficult a job broadcasting is, though? Of all the things you could do in life, how hard. I mean, that is hard. I don't think people realize how tough it is
I'll tell you.
to broadcast. I mean, a camera looking at you and trying to talk.
Talking to the camera,
Man, it's hard.
It's a little stressful. It does take getting used to. I mean, I'll tell you that. It is not,
My nose is already big.
usually talking to a person's, you're talking to a friend or talking to a teammate, you're looking at somebody in the eye, it's easy, but I'll tell you, the camera is a little different story. It does take a little getting used to.
But we're spoiled. I'm going to throw you right out there. Your humility will make you crawl into a hole. But
Please
having
don't.
guys like Stan
All
and,
right.
and
Those
Greg
guys,
Brown
Stan and Rob King.
and Rob
Yeah.
King and the host,
Fantastic.
because
Yeah.
You're literally just talking about baseball. We did that for over a decade, if not more. You almost did it for 2. After a game, you break it down. I mean, it's kind of part of the course.
It's so much fun. It's so much fun. I mean, being around the game, and especially, I mean, talking baseball, because there's no pressure in talking baseball.
No.
There's you're not
you don't
going
have to
out
make
there.
that triple play.
No, you don't have to be out there making sure you catch the ball and make a good throw and turn around a good heater. I mean, it's a low stress environment, and you still get to be around the game, which is for sure the best part.
Hey, Josh, couple things. First of all, this baseball town. It is a baseball town. It's as good as any in the country. I've said it forever. It's a winner's town. This is not blasphemy. It's the truth.
It didn't just accidentally become a city of champions.
When teams win, it's like every city, pretty much. When teams win, people
talk
support
about his
it.
favorite year. They won.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
they won. I mean, they were good. I mean, so it was kind of really cool. Those, I mean, the 2013. I mean, those 2013 when they had the resurgence. I went to those playoff games. I came down. Was at the Cueto game. The Cubs games the following year. You've never seen anything like it. And from the time I signed, to up until that season, I'd come home in the off season, and it was just Steelers stuff and Penguin stuff. You didn't see anybody. You didn't see any Jolly Rogers. You didn't see any Pirates gear. Nobody's flying those flags. And I came home that year. 2013. I would have come home from Reno, I guess. And there's Pirate stuff everywhere. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, it was the first time, really, like as an adult, that I came home to a city that was in love with baseball again. Mm-hmm. And it's absolutely true. The people here love a win. I mean, they don't just love a winner. I mean, they love their teams in general. But when you perform on the field, I mean, you are going to get love unlike any other place,
they
maybe in the
embrace
country.
It so much.
So much. Yeah. And the atmosphere at those games, I mean, absolutely tells the tale. I mean, we went down there a couple hours before, those games, and I mean, it's just a flood of people. I mean, the Clemente Bridge is just shoulder to shoulder outside the stadium. You can't move.
Wearing all black.
I mean, wearing all black. I mean, the atmosphere was as cool as anything, I've ever really got to witness. As a player, at that point, I was just a fan.
Yeah.
And boy,
was that cool for you? Just being a fan because you're playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
I bet.
For sure. I mean, the season had ended. I didn't, I hadn't gotten called up, so I was a free agent. I had, no allegiances at that point, so I got to rock some Buccos gear and
Nice.
head down to the ballpark just as a fan again, and cheer on the Buccos. And that was, I'll tell you what, man, that Cueto game was just something else. I mean, it was something else. I mean, it's one of the coolest things I've ever witnessed as a baseball fan.
Had people, including John Wayner and others, say Wayner went there as a fan. It was a radio-only game. I think Walkie and I and Tim Neverett did the game, but so John could go with his family to the game. And he said, of all the, and you're typical, he's a real Yinzer now. We've argued this. You're not. Don Kelly's not. No. Mount Lebanon, St. Clair. No. You're not Yinzers.
We're going to have them all in debate. We're going to debate what that Yinzer means.
Carrick, that's a Yinzer.
Oh,
but of all the events, all the Super Bowl, Stanley Cups, there was nothing like it. That event was unlike anything they've ever experienced.
It was so
guys
cool.
like Wayner.
It was unreal.
Well, it was a treat to have you on here. We're going to have your dad on one of these. Your dad, chip off the old block here.
Legend.
What a baseball
Super
man.
energy.
You'll have a heck of a lot of good baseball stories from him. He's been doing it a heck of a long time, and boy, he's done a lot from coaching in college to the Fed League to helping out with Team USA. There's a whole lot of good stories in him too.
How about Duquesne not having baseball?
Yeah,
that was so sad,
tired.
isn't it?
It's a little,
right?
It's a little bit of a drag.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a drag.
Yeah.
Needs
to be resurrected.
Yeah, that would be great. It was great the run that they had, and I got to work out up there. They used to put that bubble over the football field. I had a great advantage getting to have a whole college team and an indoor facility to work out with in Pittsburgh all winter.
That's amazing.
So, fortunately, there's some of those good spots now around where guys can still get their work in the wintertime. But yeah, I had it really good with those Duquesne Dukes years.
And Josh now has also experienced his greatest podcast ever. He's never been involved with a podcast.
My first
like
one.
the Hold My Cutter. Don't
I
say
mean,
that. No. This is your first of this week.
Well, yeah.
You've been doing podcasts
he's
for
rating it.
years, but this Hold My Cutter.
We're first, is what he's saying.
Yes.
The Hold My-
Number one.
The best.
You get the play on words, right? Hold My Cutter. You
Hold
got
my
it.
cutter.
Okay.
I do like it. I need to learn how to hold a cutter. I
There we
tried
go.
the couple times
Oh.
I pitched. I tried to throw it. They didn't.
We
That
gotta
was
start
what I
doing
tried
that.
to
Gotta
go
have all
to
of our
Chris
guests
Young.
hold
It
my cutter.
took me deep. Was
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
Well, it's okay. If it makes you feel better, I gave up a grand slam and a 3-run homer. 3-run homer is to Pedro Alvarez.
Trying to throw a cutter.
I tried the Cueto.
Yeah.
I'm shaking up top. Try to go 78 at the top. It didn't work.
Yeah. We learned that doesn't work. My heat's not quite major league material.
What
Yeah.
a treat. What an absolute treat.
Absolute
Hold
treat.
My Cutter with
Yep.
Josh Wilson. Enjoying more coffee here at Burned by Rocky Patel. Like and subscribe, please. Enjoy Hold My Cutter.
Pretty please.
Yeah.